Yeah, I just watched the program. It's literally called the program. It's not very revealing in its title. Not having read the synopsis, I really had no idea what program referred to. But sure enough, it's Lance Armstrong's doping case's only movie so far. So the others are documentaries. Doesn't even a documentary from before it all exploded, of course. I'm surprised he hasn't wrote a book in a decade now. Apparently wrote two before, so anyone knew about the doping scandal? Yeah, I'm surprised. Most people usually want to tell their side of the story, or maybe he really gave up on trying to lie. Um, Very interesting that the scriptwriter specifically didn't bother taking his account from his point of view, because of course he might be lying once again. So, in that sense, I mean, based on everything that I've read with regards to real life biographies, it seems to be fairly accurate. I mean, I've read, mainly the synopses of every character, so not quite the whole life story or anything, but seems to be, apart from, like Lander's hacking case. I'm not sure why they didn't mention that. Apparently, I think that happened. That might have happened after 2010. So I guess that's mostly the problem with this movie. I think it would have been better if they did a bit more about what happened after. I mean, they only dedicated a whole 5 minutes or so from when the point when the scandal was uncovered to the end of the movie. Just 5 minutes. I mean, sure, the whole movie is filled with allegations. That's mostly allegations. So I don't know. That's the problem. I don't know why just 5 minutes. I mean, the movie was longer enough, but why only 5 minutes then? Hmm. I mean, yeah. Sure enough, they showed it all per bit, although, but they should have, like, I don't know, just I guess other things, and they only, as usual, just say as a postscript sort of thing at the end. Many biography movies do that. Otherwise, though, it seems to be fairly accurate. I don't know why they went a bit too much though with regards to the beginning. In the first 10 minutes, there was that surgery scene. I mean, it's a bit too much, for a sports biographical drama. Yeah. I was seriously hoping they wouldn't go even further, and they didn't ultimately, but they really went quite a lot. I mean, the makeup they used was fairly effective as well, incredible. It really drained the color out of the face. What's also incredible is that the actor actually took apparently EPO to know what it's like. I guess that's some method acting. I mean, I don't know. I don't think just it's quite something. Just to act. I don't think it was really needed, was it? I mean, it's not like he wanted to win anything. He just needed to act. So I don't think it makes you act any better. So I'm not really sure it was very needed, but hmm, quite some method acting there. So in that sense, this movie is realistic as can be mostly. Seems like from the little I read, like even the fact that Landis used to train at night because his father disapproved of him. Although apparently I read the movie omitted it that. Well, I didn't quite omit it; it just implied it mainly. So apparently his father then considered him his biggest fans or whatever. No word on what happened after his own scandal was uncovered, of course. His biography, though, after the scandal was kind of interesting. I think possibly more interesting than Lance's. He apparently tried to uh, set up a business, and with that business, he tried to set up a sports company, which folded after a year. Hmm. Apparently, he tried to go into some other sport, I think, as well. Hmm. Yeah, it seems like many of these. There were a few who tried to go from cycling to, like, there was one who went to football. I didn't know. Sports people were so interchangeable in this sense. Yeah. So it was interesting. I mean, to watch it in a way. In a way, it's even more interesting than the likes of, like, Borg and whatever the other guy was called. They also commented on, because that's just some rivalry. It was interesting, but it was just a rivalry. Whereas this was a real life scandal. So I mean, that was real life as well, but not a scandal as such. Yeah. So it was interesting in this sense. I mean, I guess most people already know what happened. It's not like people begin the movie by not knowing at all the endings. In this sense, it's sort of spoiled, but it's a biography anyway. So mm, um, it was interesting though how it all happened. I had no idea they went so far with regards to all the. I mean, just like you said, really, it takes quite a lot of work to inject APO and whatnot, and wow, they used to freeze blood? Really? Um, it seems to me it takes even more work than it does to actually train, and even riskier. But who knows? Yeah, I guess he just wanted his empty 7 titles, which were later stripped. I cannot believe he still believes he won them. At the end there, like the movie says, didn't quite haven't quite read anything specific that he says. Anyway, I'm assuming it's a real quote. I'm assuming the movie doesn't just lie there at the very end. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, people generally know what happened, but it's quite something. I mean, he was quite ruthless. I mean, that reminded me of some mafioso at one point. Like, he was threatening other competitors. It's quite something. It's really. I mean, I'm surprised that Italian cyclists didn't report him and they didn't strike him off, just based on the fact that he threatened him. I am surprised. Yeah. Um, uh, I mean, pretty much the only good thing he did was to set up his foundation, which suffered as well due to his doping. After the scandal, apparently the money it received went down year after year after year. Went from like 10 million to 3 million or something after 7 or so years. It's quite a pity. That's pretty much that side of the thing is pretty much. I mean, he did still seemingly use it as a shield, like someone said, like I think it was Landis said, but that is pretty much the only thing. I mean, the only time, of course, when he really connects most strongly in the movie is, of course, when he visits that child, even though he was busy. I mean, anyone even more ruthless would have just, I mean, if he didn't really, if he wasn't really affected himself by the disease, if that was another lie of his, in other words, I'm assuming, yeah, he could have easily just left because he needs. I mean, people do that for many other things. It doesn't that well, if they're not affected personally, then many people do that. But yeah, he didn't. Now I haven't read specifically that happened, so I'm assuming the movie didn't do that just to. I mean, I'm assuming the movie isn't trying to fix his image or anything. I mean, it's broken enough, and the movie did show the full extent of doping specifically. So I'm assuming um, there is, of course, a lot to read with regards to his biography, so it's a bit difficult to make a full analysis. but assuming it's real, the fact that he set up that um, charity, I think it's a charity, is real, obviously, but it doesn't quite say how much money he personally donated to it, though. Because, of course, setting up a charity with other people, giving it money is one thing, you know. But no, he did seem to be personally involved with it. Like, apparently, he co-chaired some initiative in California. But this is the thing. I mean, I just can't believe it failed by 0.4%. Yeah, most idiotic thing ever. So as awful as it is for him to lie and everything about his wins specifically, at least he did that. For voters to reject it, well, there is always something worse in the world. I swear. Why would voters reject a proposal to research that disease? Why ever? Oh, let me guess. Propaganda by tobacco companies, of course. Why not? And I thought it was hilarious, by the way, what's he called again? The guy who was formerly mayor of NY, he said he was an inspiration, a role model. How funny! A role model, you say? I see. Yes, he said it before the scandal broke, but can see what you mean. Anyway, so yeah. So apparently he has a filmography. Apparently he has a few cameos. Who knew? He is yep, pretty much a failed cyclist now, cycling com- competitor. Not sure where competitors came from. No idea. But yeah, but apparently he has a career in cameos. Yay! Anyway, yeah. Apparently he owns a coffee shop. Who knew? Juan Pelota Cafe. Who's Juan Pelota? Oh. What? One ball, I see. Wow. See, the thing is, I mean, he was stripped of his titles. It doesn't seem like, I mean, apparently he might have needed to give back like 5 million or something, but other than that, I think in the libel case, other than that, though, he still owns at least 2 properties, whole ranch apparently. This cafe. So he still profited of the lies. And so I mean, clearly, I mean, besides the libel case, it doesn't seem like people really clawed back anything else it might have presumably. So I don't know if the titles were remunerated, but doesn't seem like so they stripped him of the titles, but doesn't seem like, or at least I didn't read that they also clawed back any prize money. Presumably there's prize money, so no idea. Alright, yeah. November 2013, he settled the lawsuit with exception. Oh no, that's just insurance, so yeah. Just $3 million, yeah. So yeah, just that's pretty much it. So just the libel case. I'm not sure there's anything else that was settled. It was the only people who were banned for life apparently were him and Johann Brunel. Pretty much it. Hmm. And I learned about some other. I learned about the False Claims Act here. But apparently, individuals can join it along with the US government. Imposes liability. It is quite something, though, isn't it? In a way, like you said, it's sort of like a legend of some sort, legendary lying and cheating. Kind of reminiscent of other sources. So yeah, there was apparently SCA promotions, but I think is it just the libel case here? I'm not sure. Well, that's the million, so 10 million to possibly 13 million? Not sure. Perjury must never be profitable, and it is almost certain the most devious sustained deception ever perpetrated in world sporting history. Besides Russia, of course. No, Russia I think was after, wasn't it? I think so. Of course, that's not an individual, but yeah. When it comes to individuals, this guy takes the cake, clearly. We really did the wall, huh? Growth hormone, cortisol, EPO, steroids, testosterone. I was seriously wondering, I mean, couldn't they have just simply said, for all the lying they did, I'm honestly amazed they didn't just say, I didn't take testosterone. My body simply overproduced it. Or something, because of course testosterone is naturally made in the body, but somehow they didn't deny it. Unless, of course, whatever they test specifically is not normally affected by that normal production and is only affected by artificial production. I'm not entirely sure, of course. I am by no means an expert on any of this. I just learned actually that EPO is a cytokine. Of course, cytokines are interesting because they're implicated in an overreaction by the immune system. So it's all very interesting. Of course, here they're used to produce more oxygen, so people could go further. But in viral diseases, like COVID currently, cytokine storms can be what becomes deadly. Although I haven't quite read many instances that happen these days, so I think it happens in mostly young people, and COVID seems to affect mainly older people. But even when it comes to younger people, I haven't read it. I haven't read it. It's the main cause. But in 1919, at least, the flu outbreak there, it was the main cause of death. I think, as far as I know. Mainly young people. Then they were affected. And yeah, cytokine storm. So I mean, this presumably then, in such a storm, EPO is produced a lot. So presumably there is more oxygen produced, and presumably the body just drowns in oxygen. Because of course, if people are mainly, their health will be mainly affected if they abuse it. Like after all, Ferraro, was it Ferraro? That doctor who's now, I think he's banned for life as well. Yeah, like he said, after all, yeah, it's only really harmful if people overdose on it, like with anything really. But yeah, it's interesting. I wasn't quite aware that EPO is cytokine. So presumably then. Hmm. And yeah, they apparently, because he did try to use it as an excuse when um what do they call it, Andreas or something, when the person from the hospital, the one who heard him say that he used these sort of drugs. Later on, he said that she misheard him, and he was referring to the treatment specifically that he got in the hospital. And I'm assuming that if they really do, if people do really get such treatment in such a situation, then yeah, he had the perfect excuse. I'm assuming because indeed cytokines. Wait, do they? Let me check. I think though, because cytokines have obviously an effect on the immune system. Do they though? I think they do though. And the immune system does act against cancer. So yeah, infection, inflammation, immunity. To inhibit, yeah, and their functions to inhibit human development and progression. So they do a lot. So along with viral cases, along with the combating of germs generally. Um, that's weird. Alternatively, the cells can respond to host-derived cytokines. What? That promote growth, attenuate apoptosis, self-suicide, that is, and facilitate invasion. Don't get it. This is definitely interesting to read more on. Because I really had no idea. So apparently it can either inhibit the growth or promote it. Makes little sense, but then again, even in cyclone storms, I mean, they're supposed to be there to, to deal with germs, but somehow they end up killing the entire system. So they're very much a double-edged sword. Hmm. If so, he was really then. I mean, if so, people who do performance enhancing drugs, I'm not entirely sure in red though specifically if there is any linked connection, but based on this, there possibly is a risk then that he might end up with so is in such a situation that he was in before, in terms of course, people do not normally dig too deep about this. I mean, I'm sure he just wanted to win the race, not look and see if he might end up in a similar situation that he was in. Because of course, when it first started, the viewer assumes that it is due to that because he had just started APO. So one assumes, cause and effect. It would have been too short, I guess, too short a time for it. Yeah. So yeah, anyway, as a movie, this was fine. I mean, it's sort of like a documentary in a way of one movie. So I personally prefer movies in the sense that movies are usually more static, shall we say. So yeah, it's fine really. It kind of acts as a thriller as well in a way, in the latter half at least. It was interesting really. Truthful, so that's a plus in the sense. The actor looked remarkably like him. So yeah, it's an interesting movie certainly, and filled in the gaps of what one happens to miss. I mean, unless they read people, unless people read books about the entire case, and sure enough, they'll list. As a movie, yeah, it was interesting. As interesting as biographical movies can be, of course. Yeah, certainly interesting. Yeah, interesting is what can be said.